You think they are busy. You tell yourself they forgot. You excuse the delay. But right now your nervous system already knows the truth. Your chest tightens. Your focus narrows. Your thoughts loop. You are not waiting for a reply. You are being measured. Every unanswered message is a pressure test. Every delayed response is a probe into how desperate you are to be chosen. You refresh the screen. You reread the last message. You imagine explanations that protect their innocence and destroy your leverage. This is where power quietly changes hands. Because the moment you wait without restraint, you signal something primal. You signal lower rank. You signal emotional dependency. Predators do not rush. Prey does. And right now you are moving like prey. You were trained to believe patience is virtue. You were trained to believe availability is kindness. You were trained to believe silence means nothing. Machiavelli warned that men judge more by the eye than by the hand. What they see is your reaction. What they feel is your weakness. Today we cut into that illusion. This will not feel good. This will feel like losing a limb you depended on. But when we are done, you will never confuse absence with accident again. When attention disappears, your body reacts before your mind can lie. Heart rate shifts. Focus tightens. The amygdala reads absence as threat. This is ancient wiring built for survival, not dignity. Silence triggers the same alarm as social exile, because for most of human history, exclusion meant death. Modern communication hijacks that circuit. One unread message can push you into self-doubt faster than any insult. The mistake happens next. You move, you check, you reach, not because you want to, but because your nervous system demands relief. This reaction is what the silence is designed to extract. The person withholding attention is not confused. They are watching what you do with uncertainty. They are measuring how much control they can gain without asking for it. The weaker response is reflexive reassurance seeking, double texting, over-explaining, soft jokes meant to reopen access. Each move feeds information. It tells them where your limits are and how quickly pressure works. You think you are restoring balance. You are actually confirming imbalance. The override is simple but brutal. You do nothing. No correction. No emotional leak. No visible disturbance. Not as a tactic, but as discipline. You allow the discomfort to pass without acting on it. This starves the test. Silence only has power when it creates motion. When there is no movement, it collapses. This is not about playing games. It is about refusing to volunteer nervous system data to someone who has not earned it. Calm non-reaction communicates self-possession at a level words cannot reach. It signals that your sense of value does not depend on constant access. People who rely on silence to gain leverage expect anxiety. When they meet stillness, the dynamic shifts. Pressure reverses. Now they must decide whether to engage honestly or lose relevance. This is silence bait. You do not bite. You let it rot. Intermittent attention rewires behavior faster than consistent reward. This is not romance. This is conditioning. The brain releases dopamine, not when reward is given, but when it might be given. Unpredictability sharpens craving. Casinos use it. Social apps use it. People use it on each other without ever naming it. A delayed reply lands like a slot machine spin. Maybe this time. Maybe now. Your mind fills the gap with imagined outcomes. Each check of the phone becomes a micro bet. When the message finally arrives, relief hits hard. Not because the content mattered, but because tension ended. Your nervous system learns the pattern quickly. Wait. Hope. Receive. Repeat. This is the leash. Not attention itself, but the timing of it. Inconsistency creates attachment more reliably than warmth. The brain confuses emotional spikes with connection. What feels intense feels meaningful. That confusion keeps people orbiting longer than logic ever would. The weak response is unconscious participation. Instant replies when they appear. Heightened energy after silence. Subtle gratitude for basic acknowledgement. You believe you are matching interest. You're actually reinforcing the schedule that keeps you hooked. The override is intentional delay without drama. Not punishment, not withdrawal. Regulation. You break the loop by refusing to treat relief as reward. When a message arrives, you pause. You answer cleanly. You do not spike. You do not collapse. You restore baseline before engagement. This trains your system back toward neutrality. Dopamine levels stabilize. Urgency fades. Clarity returns. And something else happens. The dynamic shifts. The person relying on unpredictability loses leverage when their timing stops producing emotional movement. This is not cruelty, it is self-possession. Attention given calmly carries more weight than attention given compulsively. When gratification is delayed by choice rather than fear, you regain authorship of your reactions. Most people never break this loop, they call it chemistry. It is conditioning. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And once you stop feeding it, the leash goes slack. Your nervous system was trained to read presence as protection. When someone is always available, the brain relaxes. Cortisol drops. Threat feels distant. This is ancient logic. Tribes survived by proximity. Separation meant danger. Modern relationships still run on this wiring, even when the context no longer fits. Constant availability feels generous, but it quietly erodes value. When access is unlimited, the mind stops registering it as significant. What is always there becomes background noise. Safety turns into certainty. Certainty turns into indifference. Not because people are cruel, but because biology discounts what requires no effort to obtain. This is the availability tax. The more present you are, the less you are assessed as valuable, not consciously. Instinctively, your openness signals that your time is abundant and therefore cheap. You think you are showing interest. Your nervous system thinks you are overinvested. The weak response is reflexive access, instant replies, flexible schedules, emotional readiness on demand. You shaped your life around availability, hoping it will be appreciated. Instead, it removes tension. And without tension, desire flattens. Power leaks out slowly and invisibly. The Machiavellian response is not coldness. It is calibrated scarcity. You are present but not endlessly reachable. Responsive but not predictable. Your time has edges. Your attention has conditions. Not announced. Demonstrated. This forces recalibration. The other nervous system must adjust to uncertainty. Effort increases. Focus sharpens. Value rises because access is no longer guaranteed. Absence activates appraisal. Presence regains weight. This is not manipulation. It is refusing to subsidize connection with self-neglect. Scarcity without resentment is self-respect expressed behaviorally. When you stop offering unlimited access, you allow the dynamic to rebalance naturally. People who are used to extracting safety through your presence will resist. That reaction is information. It reveals who valued you for comfort rather than respect. You are not disappearing. You are repositioning. Availability becomes a privilege, not a default. When presence is earned, it becomes powerful again. Silence creates a vacuum. When attention is removed, the mind rushes to fill the gap. Your value feels questioned even if nothing was said. The body interprets absence as evaluation. You start scanning memory for mistakes. Tone. Timing. Meaning. This is not intuition. It is insecurity triggered by uncertainty. The urge that follows is dangerous. You want to prove you matter. You want to reestablish warmth. You want to signal usefulness. So you offer more. Explanations. Affection. Availability. Humor. Competence. Each offer is an audition. Each audition lowers your position because value that must be proven is value already doubted. Biology explains this. Social approval once meant survival. Rejection meant removal from the group. The brain learned to repair status threats immediately. Modern silence activates the same circuit. Cortisol rises. Self-monitoring increases. Behavior becomes performative instead of grounded. The weak response is chasing reassurance, sending messages that ask for nothing but secretly beg for something. Being helpful without being asked. Softening boundaries to regain acceptance. This feels like connection, but it is submission disguised as effort. The override is restraint, not emotional shutdown. Refusal to perform. You do not rush to demonstrate worth. You let silence sit unanswered inside you until the urge passes. You return to baseline before engaging. This preserves rank because it signals internal validation. People who create validation vacuums expect movement. They expect you to step forward and fill the space with proof. When you do not, the vacuum exposes them instead. Now they feel the gap. Now they question their leverage. This is not arrogance. It is containment. Self-respect expressed through stillness. Approval sought externally is always temporary. Approval generated internally changes posture, tone, and pace. When you stop auditioning, you stop chasing permission to exist. You allow others to meet you where you stand. those who cannot reveal their intent, those who can adjust naturally. Finished, your nervous system copies what it observes: pace, tone, response time, emotional intensity. This happens automatically. Mirror neurons track the dominant signal in the interaction and adjust you to it. Whoever sets tempo becomes reference point. Whoever follows loses frame without realizing it. Most people surrender tempo early. They speed up when the other speeds up. They slow down when the other pulls back. They wait when the other delays. This feels polite. It feels adaptive. It is actually submission at the level of the body. Your system is asking theirs for permission on how to move. This is the power mirror, not about words but rhythm. Conversations, replies, escalation. Whoever dictates rhythm dictates hierarchy, because pace signals importance. Kings are never rushed, servants are. The weak response is unconscious matching. You reply faster than you meant to. You change your schedule to fit theirs. You let urgency leak into your voice when they create pressure. Each adjustment tells them you are orienting around their axis. The strategist breaks the mirror. Not by opposing, by stabilizing. You choose a tempo that reflects your own priorities, and you hold it, calmly. Without explanation, without apology. You answer when ready. You move when aligned. You do not accelerate to soothe their anxiety, or decelerate to chase their approval. This creates friction. And friction reveals truth. People who relied on controlling pace feel unsettled. They push, they test. They increase pressure. If you hold steady, the dynamic shifts. Now they must decide whether to adapt to you or disengage. This is not dominance theater. It is self-governance. Your nervous system becomes the anchor instead of the echo. Once you stop mirroring, you stop bleeding power. Alignment that comes from chasing is unstable. Alignment that comes from matching a steady frame is real. When others adjust to your tempo without being asked, you have already won. Uncertainty is not neutral. It is a chemical event. When outcomes are unclear, cortisol rises and the body prepares to submit in exchange for safety. This is not weakness. It is biology. Stress narrows thinking and prioritizes relief over leverage. Whoever controls uncertainty controls behavior. Some people learn to farm this response. They withhold clarity. They delay decisions. They keep plans loose and intentions vague, not openly hostile. Just undefined enough to keep you alert. Your system stays activated. You stay attentive. Compliance increases because tension is expensive to hold. This is the anxiety harvest. Pressure without fingerprints. No demands, no threats. Just enough instability to keep you leaning forward. You start accommodating before anything is asked. You explain yourself preemptively. You soften positions. You trade boundaries for calm. The mistake is trying to resolve uncertainty by pleasing the source of it. That is obedience masquerading as connection. The brain confuses relief with trust. Once tension drops, you feel closer, even if nothing real was exchanged. This trains submission. The override is emotional neutrality, not indifference. Regulation. You refuse to let uncertainty rush your nervous system into action. You slow your internal response instead of speeding up externally. You notice the stress without negotiating with it. Neutrality blocks extraction because there is nothing to pull, no anxiety spike. No appeasement reflex, no visible hunger for resolution. When you do not react, the pressure has nowhere to land. Uncertainty loses its leverage. People who rely on anxiety to maintain advantage become exposed here. Without cortisol driving compliance, they must engage directly or retreat. Clarity requires courage. Manipulation avoids it. Neutrality forces the fork. This is not about winning interactions. It is about protecting agency. A regulated nervous system is a closed economy. Nothing leaks without permission. Most people never build this capacity. They mistake intensity for intimacy and relief for alignment. Once you master neutrality, uncertainty becomes information, not threat. You stop paying emotional taxes. You stop funding games. In the moment anxiety can no longer be harvested, you regain authority over your choices. Ambiguity is the final filter. When someone keeps their intentions undefined, they are not confused. They are observing who destabilizes first. Who pushes for labels, who demands reassurance, who starts bargaining for clarity. Collapse under ambiguity signals one thing clearly: replaceability anxiety. At this stage, nothing is missing except your reaction. Silence already revealed interest. Access already revealed availability. Now they test identity strength. Can you remain intact without guarantees, or do you dissolve into questions? The nervous system hates open loops. It wants resolution, even if the resolution is bad. Many people choose certainty over dignity without noticing the trade. The weak response is chasing definition. Where's this going? What are we? Why are you distant? These questions feel reasonable, but they expose dependence on external structure. You are asking them to decide who you are to them. That hands authority upward. Whoever defines the relationship controls its terms. Biology drives this. Ambiguity triggers cortisol and self-doubt. The mind seeks relief by anchoring to another person's decision. This is how people trap themselves. Not through force, but through the need to be chosen. The override is detachment that is clean, not resentful. You stop trying to resolve the unknown. You continue your life at full speed. You invest where energy is returned. You do not punish. You do not perform. You simply remove emotional priority from what refuses to define itself. Detachment communicates replaceability without saying it. Your actions signal that undefined roles do not earn central access. This is not an ultimatum. It is a boundary expressed through allocation of time and focus. People who are testing expect collapse. When they meet calm distance, the test reverses. Now they face ambiguity. Now they must decide whether to clarify or fade. Both outcomes restore your position. This is the final test because it exposes the deepest fear. Being optional. When you no longer fear that status, you cannot be controlled through uncertainty. Detachment is not withdrawal, it is self-alignment. You do not disappear, you recenter. And anyone who wants proximity must step into clarity to earn it. You see it now. They were never busy, they were watching. Watching how fast you respond, watching how much access you surrender. Watching how quickly your spine bends under uncertainty. Power tests are not loud. They are quiet. They are deniable. And that is why they work. Most people fail here because biology runs first. The amygdala screams danger. Dopamine begs for relief. So they reply too fast. They explain too much. They chase closure like oxygen. This is not romance. This is hierarchy. Machiavelli understood that control is never taken by force alone. It is handed over by those who fear loss more than domination. But we must go deeper. The real enemy was never them. It was the part of you that needed certainty to feel worthy. The part of you that equated attention with value. Carl Jung called this the shadow. The disowned hunger to be chosen. A harmless man is not a good man. A good man is a dangerous man who has his darkness under voluntary control. When you master silence, you stop begging reality to reassure you. You become the architect, not the applicant. The king, not the servant. Here is what changes now. You stop reacting. You stop explaining. You stop negotiating your worth. You let silence reveal intentions. You let absence expose character. You let time do the interrogation for you. Most people cannot do this. Their identity collapses without feedback. Their nervous system demands immediate relief. You must not. You must not. You must not. Because the moment you hold frame through uncertainty, you invert the test. Now they wonder. Now they calculate. Now they feel the edge you once felt. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I do not chase clarity. I command respect if this unsettled you. Understand, this is only what can be said publicly. There are layers of dark psychology that cannot survive exposure. Those are not for everyone. Most will leave here unchanged. They will return to waiting. Return to refreshing. Return to surrendering power quietly. Are you different? Subscribe if you have not. I will see you in the shadows.